What's up, everybody? It's your favorite heavy weapons, favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the heavy Mandalorian, or is it Mandalorian heavy? I had to Google that before I make a little title card for this one. The character that Favreau supposedly voices, they got into a little beef with the Mandalorian in Chapter 3 and then came to rescue him at the end. Spoilers. This is on loan to me from Chris Pinkerton, if you're nasty, co-host of Nerd Rage Radio, because he ordered his on Thanksgiving Day, I believe, and it arrived like the very next day, or something like that. I ordered mine the day afterwards. Mine is slated to arrive December 16th. It's a funny world we live in. Anyway, we're gonna look at this guy, but first, we're gonna talk about accessories. So he comes with this backpack slash weapon assortment. I don't know, because he gave it to me on one. I don't know if you had to plug this in, but it's pretty secure now. This is flat plastic for the most part until you get down towards the end where it's painted silver and then has the kind of burnt metal look at the end. There's a name for this, and Adam, my buddy Adam, loves to say it, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. It's sculpted nicely, but it doesn't really look much like a gun from here on down. It's just the tip, so to speak, that looks great. And then we have the kind of connection piece here, which is a cool enough sculpt and has some little wiggle room. No wire or anything underneath, so it's going to constantly want to kind of go into that same position. That's going to be troublesome as well. Then you have this piece. It connects into the backpack and then into the forearm. It's a hose. It's fine. You have the backpack that's washed and then painted with silver and brown and a darker gunmetal as well, and a decent enough sculpt. And as you can see, he'll hold it all and support it all just fine. It does limit the articulation in terms of like what poses you can get him in if you want him to hold all of it. But as you'll see at the end, I have pictures of him kind of like supporting it on a shoulder. So there's other tricks you can kind of do. And let's talk about the figure. So the head is on a double ball peg, which is nice. New mold, and that's how they're doing it. The head sculpt itself looks great. We have little triangles and stuff sculpted in. All of the metal kind of indentations and stuff are sculpted in. Looks great. We have the lighter blue paint, the weathering with the silver. We have some black paint on there. It looks great. Silver paint. Little antennas painted 2 tones of silver. And then we have the black glossy for the visor. And then the sort of flat black perhaps down at the bottom. I can't tell. And then we have what feels like a double, but it might be a single. It might be a single with a long stem. Either way, it works well. You get the teapot, you get the swivel. It does get a little jammed up, kind of like Marvel Legends do sometimes. And you get it a little bit forward and a good bit back. You also had the silver paint. You have this sculpted on and I think glued on. And then you had the weathering that's kind of done around the edges of the armor, which is a nice touch as opposed to kind of the heavy-handed metal approach, like weathering. That looks good. Same on the abdomen. No additional articulation in the abdomen, but you do have this belt. It's a floating piece. It's cast in this brown, and then it has the darker brown painted on. It has the belt painted on, the buckle painted on, and then the tarp at the back painted on. For the shoulders, you have a little bit of a butterfly joint, which is nice. That comes out to a disc hinge. I'm guessing it's a ball peg that goes up into the chest. The shoulder pads will get out of the way, however, they're flat plastic and you can warp them and stuff, so just use caution. And then you have the swivel all the way around. You have a bicep swivel, a single hinged elbow that gets you 90 degrees. We have the Mando tampoed on there as well as the silver paint. And then we have this kind of mustard paint with the wash on it that looks good. Maybe a wash on this gray, I can't really tell. All the details are painted on the gauntlet. Then we have some silver weathering done, a little heavy-handed here, but not terrible. And then the blaster, like the flamethrower, I'm guessing, is painted as well. Wrist swivel, hinge in out with the kind of maroon paint on the wrist or on the top of the hand. Same on this side, except the hinge is up and down. Nicely done. Both hands hold the heavy weapon, so it makes sense. You know, I'm funny about that, but they did a good job. T-jointed ball joints for hips. Get you out, great range. Forward, a great range. Even with the armor squared up. Thigh swivel at a cut joint. Double jointed knee, not the prettiest, but it works. Armor's painted in the same fashion with some additional weathering as well. And then we have the silver paint, you know, kind of done fairly well. Lower shin gauntlet is washed and then the strap is painted. It's a good job. Ankle tilt down, nothing really up. Same for this side. And then a rocker where it pegs into the foot. And then you have the tip of the boots that are painted as well. Pretty solid offering. Nice to get a lot of these characters. I hope we get more. And like, where's the Yoda? You know what I mean? We got to get the Yoda.
A little dark, but there he is with some of the other crew, Cara Dune and IG-11. Fits right in, and like a decent, you know, like a different size character, so that does help break up that shelf. I don't know what I'm doing with these guys yet because I got to see what they kind of make, but it is interesting how like height variation, width variation and stuff can really add some dynamic elements to a display.
Final thoughts wise for the negatives, the only thing is because of all of the kind of accessories plugging into his body at different points, it does limit kind of what you can do with your poses to really pull it off. Most of them give fairly well, but if I had to be nitpicky, honestly, this is a pretty good figure, so I'm trying to give up something. But most of the hoses and stuff give a little bit and enough to kind of get the job done. However, I have found when I was trying to pose him that I often wanted a bit more. Like I said, pretty good figure. Let me explain why. Tons of unique sculpt and tons of paint, and not just paint as in flats to differentiate textures or pieces of armor or what have you, but also washes, weathering, dry brushing, etc. to kind of give a more unique look to all of it, and it works. Articulation is pretty impressive, especially for a figure that's kind of built this way size-wise. But yeah, for a big old kind of lumbering character, he does have really well engineered articulation built in. I'm not sure if it warrants the more expensive price. Like, it doesn't feel like a deluxe figure in the same way that the Gamorrean Guard did, but it's a good one nonetheless, and therefore will get a recommendation from me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.